Okay, well, hello to everybody watching, and thank you to Iain and Neil for joining us today. We are going to be talking about the autumn statement that has just been announced by Chancellor Jeremy Hunt. Iain is the head of dental at Wesleyan, and Neil is a regional manager, and they are going to be shining a light on what the announcement means for dentists and their teams today. So thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much for having
Nice
us.
to be here.
It's great to have you back. No, last time, Iain, we had you kind of a surprise pop-up halfway through the stream back in March. So it's good to have you both here from the get-go this time around.
There's a bit less pressure on this one, Gabby. I remember this starting before the Chancellor even sat down, so at least we've had a bit of time to reflect this time.
Absolutely. I think this 3:30 start has been a bit of a godsend. So thank goodness for that. I think a great place to start with these kinds of conversations is what are your first impressions of today's announcement?
Okay, well, I'll start with that one if that's okay, Iain. I think my initial reaction is to kind of be a little bit in the middle and to say it's neither a positive nor a negative budget. The big headlines are obviously around national insurance, and people might immediately feel a little bit relieved that there might be an increase in the take-home pay from January. But all the forecasting around taxation still pointing that towards there being a record take in tax by 2028-29 because we've got frozen tax bands and frozen allowances. So it's almost a little bit of kind of we're giving back, but we still know we're taking away as well.
Mm.
Yeah, for me, Gabby, it was actually more to do with what wasn't in the budget rather than what was. I think it was cautious from that perspective. There was a lot more built up around what might be covered and what might change. And actually, a lot of it, it transpired that it didn't, which I know we'll go on to talk about a bit later. But that was really the overriding thing for me. It was a number of things that he didn't touch and didn't even refer to or mention. That I think it's worth just highlighting. And it's interesting to consider perhaps what might happen in the next budget if we look at the next spring budget, but something we can look at later on.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think we should delve into that a little bit further on in the conversation. I know something that did happen that is perhaps less aimed at dentists and their teams and more about the patient side of things that I think it would be interesting just to kind of share with those who are watching this afternoon is that those welfare recipients who do not look for work within a 6-month period will have their benefits stopped. So this was kind of floated earlier this week. We ran a story on it on dentistry.co.uk, and that has been confirmed today, which essentially means that free prescriptions and dental care are included in that. So that might have a bit of an impact on the patients that the teams are seeing, but I think it'd be good for you guys to talk about how it will impact the personal finances and the business side of things within dentistry. So, what were the key announcements around these themes today?
So I'll start first on that one again, Gabby, please. If we kind of get the general political positioning out of the way and just kind of give people a feel for what the Chancellor's message was. Mm-hmm. The Chancellor initially said he had 3 aims, which was to reduce debt, cut taxes and reward people being in work. And then he talked about the fact that they set 3 targets when they took over from the Truss regime, and that was to halve inflation, reduce debt and grow the economy. And the Chancellor proudly said he'd hit all 3. So that was the kind of the big initial headline that he started with. Interestingly, he went on to talk about the Office of Budget Responsibility and projections for inflation. And I think this is going to be the first bit of good news for dental practitioners, which is that they anticipate inflation to be at 2.8% by the end of 2024 and then hit 2% in 2025. So I think dentists certainly at work and at home have seen a massive increase in the cost of things that they're using and they're buying. And that's good news that inflation is going to continue to fall. Also means it's good news that we'd probably expect to see interest rates but begin to fall as well. So then when we move on to kind of direct impacts, very, very first one straight away for a dental practitioner is that Class 2 and Class 4 national insurance has changed. Mm-hmm. So Class 2 national insurance is completely gone. That's something dentists will know is coming out of their tax returns every year. It's going to save them about £190 per year. So it's small potatoes. It's maybe your Netflix subscription, but it's still a saving. Class 4 has been reduced by 1% from 9% to 8%. Saves dentists about another £160 per year as well. So a little bit of a sweetener in that for the actual dentists who are self-employed. Good news for practice staff in that national insurance contributions for employees has fallen from 12% to 10%. And that really is good news for the practice team, because that's going to have a direct impact on their take-home pay. So they're two of the biggest headlines to come out of the budget. The only other really big one is that full expensing's been made permanent instead of being something that was in place until March 26th. And full expensing, just to kind of give it a quick summary, is effectively an offsetting accountancy relief that's available for limited companies, not available for sole traders, not available for partnerships, so only available for those practices trading as limited companies or dentists trading as limited companies. But it does allow some effectively slightly preferential tax relief for reinvestment into certain things. So they're the big ones. And, you know, the main message from the Chancellor was he's trying to create growth. He's trying to make growth in the economy through various measures. I think he quoted over 110 different levers.
Okay.
There's always going to be some that appear a few days down the line. So it'll be interesting to see what those other levers turn out to be once the wider budget is published.
Absolutely. Thank you for that, Neil. And what about you, Iain?
Yeah, so I mentioned earlier the things that we thought might appear but didn't. So I think it's worth considering those and reflecting on that for a bit. First one for me was ISIS. ISIS was largely mooted to be, there was going to be some kind of change, something was going to happen. And the idea, I think, was to try and look again at encouraging people to save, trying to offer tax advantages and tax benefits, encourage people to start putting money away again. Obviously, it's been a challenging last few years, really since COVID. But then you look at the cost of living challenges, etc. And one of the things that's been impacted is people's savings. So I think there was a lot of hope and a bit of speculation around something that might change around the ISAs, but it didn't happen. So we are where we were previously, and perhaps that's something that if we look ahead to the spring budget, it might be something to look at that point. The next one was inheritance tax. Really widely tipped to be a big thing. I know, actually, I think you had a question on this, Gabby. You were going to ask.
I was going to say that's number 4, so maybe we cut that one out.
Yeah, I mean, we were the same. I was literally sitting waiting on it, and it just didn't happen. I mean, there was a lot of speculation. It's one of these things that does come up from time to time. Will they do something at this point? And again, it was really there was some specific information about what you might do, and he just didn't do anything. So that is as it was previously. And then the next one for me, perhaps an opportunity, again, looking at cost of living. There is a thing called fiscal drag that we've been suffering from, which is it's the impact that by freezing the income tax allowances, what it does is as income increases and as wages increase over time, if the personal income tax allowances don't increase with it, what happens is more and more people are dragged into paying more and more tax, and they're moved into higher tax brackets. So again, we thought there might be an opportunity to change that and to look again at unfreezing the rates, the income tax allowances. But again, that didn't happen either. So perhaps something to think about. And again, we have to bear in mind next year we have a general election, so there might be something that happens around that time. And then if I take a step back and think really specifically about dentists and some of the issues, some of the major issues affecting dentists just now, obviously we were hoping there might be some support or reform for NHS dentists, but again, nothing on that. And then the final one for me was workforce challenges. I was looking to see if there was anything there that might encourage people to either work longer or to help support more and more dentists into the industry, or perhaps even more dentists coming from abroad, etc. And again, there was nothing on that. I know there was in the summer, but I just wondered if they might take the opportunity to add something in there. and there was nothing really that supports that either. So yeah, quite a lot that we were hoping for, some aspects that we were expecting, but really none of that changed at all.
No. I mean, my next question is, what was the standout for you both? So I know maybe this kind of feeds into what we just spoke about, but if there was kind of 1 or 2 points that the viewers should take away from today's budget, what would you say that is?
Shall I go first, Iain?
Yeah.
Sure. Okay, so I think the key messages are not necessarily around announcements in terms of changes or anything like that. It's more just the direction of the economy. And what was really interesting was to watch the Office of Budget Responsibility talk after the Chancellor's statement and talk about the fact that actually the economy has been growing unexpectedly a lot better than it was forecasted to do. And it's been far more resilient through COVID and through the cost of living crisis than they would have ever kind of forecasted or reflected. And when you start to talk about the fact that the inflationary trends are falling, shows you that hopefully we are actually starting to turn the corner and heading into some brighter economic years. And I think that's something to really be hopeful for and be positive about. So that's the big highlight for me.
Yeah, for me, Gabby, I think to be fair, I think we have to remember it's an autumn statement. It's not the budget as such. So perhaps we expect too much at a situation at a time like this. I think we just feel sometimes there's an opportunity to really get the feel-good factor back into the economy, help people to grow, help people to feel better about their own personal finances. And I think to some extent, maybe our expectations were heightened because of that. But it is an autumn statement. Perhaps some of the announcements that we were hoping for might appear next year. As I said, the stars kind of align with it being a general election year, and with the next one being a full kind of spring budget. There obviously might be more in there.
Sort of a watch this space situation then maybe there.
Absolutely. I think with the general election being next year, it'd be interesting to see just how desperate the government get in terms of what might be in the spring budget based upon what the polls are telling them.
Yeah.
So definitely one to watch.
Perfect. Thank you. I mean, before we round up, is there anything else that you two feel you haven't mentioned or you think is relevant to our readers, our watchers today?
Go on, Iain.
For me, just I guess if there's any concerns, I think sometimes there was one other thing I've just remembered about the pension pots, that the if someone moves from one employer to another, they have the opportunity to continue to build the same pension pot. And actually what that reminded me was, I know there's often a discussion around what should I do if I've got several different pension pots in different areas. I think if there's anything like that people are worried about, not sure what to do, or any impact on this budget, either things that did or didn't happen, just ask. Just come to us and ask. We'll help. We deal with dentists day in, day out. That's all we do, is deal with dentists. So we provide financial advice to dentists every day. If you think there's something that worries you, or you think there's something that's specific to you, just reach out, give us a call, and we'll try and help you.
Well, thank you both very much for giving up your time this afternoon. I shared some really, really useful stuff there. I'm sure that will help people in the weeks and months going forward. So thank you.
Thank you, Gabby.